Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Unconventional Attorney Podcast. I am Christopher Small, I'm your host. I'm the Unconventional Attorney. I am also the owner of CMS Law Firm. Today, I've got a special treat for you. I had a law firm owner from the Bordeaux region of France, actually Bordeaux, France, reach out to me and said he had some questions for me. And I was like, hey, let's do this podcast episode. You can just ask me questions. So he did. That's what's about to come up. I thought it was really great. He has some really great questions, some tough questions too, which was interesting and fun. Not something that happens all the time, so that was super cool. Before I get to that though, I want to remind you, if you're interested in getting some help with your firm, if you want to go faster, if you want some support, if you want to peek into my firm and see what's going on, if you want to learn the things that I am working on inside of my business, you can join the OMA Accelerator. It's amazing. It is $147 a month. There's no contracts. It's a month to month. You can quit anytime you want. Check that out. Go to theunconventionalattorney.com/OMA1, the number one, OMA1, and we'd love to see you in there. With that being said, let's get into the show.
Hi, everyone. Simon Deceuninck here, the owner of Citizen Avocat. I have the great pleasure today to be talking with Christopher Smalls. How are you doing, Christopher?
I'm great. How are you?
The Unconventional Attorney. It's a great pleasure to see you. As a matter of fact, I have been watching quite a few of your videos before we did this talk together, and it's great to be able to talk to you live.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I love talking about this stuff, and I'm interested to see what questions you have. I know you sent me some. I didn't look at them, so I'm excited, ready to go.
Yeah, so basically, I came across your videos something like 2 weeks ago because, as you know, I'm in the process of creating my law firm myself. And of course, I had ups and downs. I had some high highs, some very low lows. And it was very fortunate that I came across your videos because they were like truly inspirational. You put a lot of content there to help, solo practitioners. And I just, thanks to the YouTube algorithm, I just came across your videos and they were truly helpful. And so I had this idea, why not do a little interview? And there are many things we could discuss. I think it could be interesting for entrepreneurs in general, lawyers more specifically, of course. And if you agree, I have 3 subjects that I would like to touch on. The first one, I guess, would be your activity, coaching solo practitioners. The second would be just in general creating a solo practice, starting your business as a lawyer. And the third would be, your field of law, more specifically, estate planning. What do you do as a lawyer? Questions relating to estate planning, really.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Whatever you want to ask me, let's do it. I'm in.
Perfect, man. All right. So moving on to the first subject, coaching solo practitioners. First of all, could you explain us a little bit why you took that decision, why you chose to be a coach for lawyers?
Yeah, so I didn't set out to do it. Actually, it sort of just happened when I started my first law firm in 2009. I was looking to even back up a little bit farther, I'd sort of gotten into internet marketing and sort of internet sales and things like that, like Google ads, like this old school type of stuff. And so I could see sort of the power of the internet and how you could use the internet to build a business, even like a law firm. And so when I started my firm in 2009, I was looking for resources on how to do that, on just what people were doing, what was working or wasn't working, specifically related to lawyers. I just didn't see any of that anywhere. And then at the same time, I also kind of wanted to document my journey of starting my law firm because I thought it would be fun to look back on like now and laugh and sort of like see how what I was, all the bad decisions that I made, all the things that I focused on that I shouldn't have been focusing on, all those kinds of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so back then I was just blogging. Like podcasting didn't even really exist. It wasn't. I mean, I don't even know if you could do it then. You could, but it was expensive and it's hard. So I was just blogging. I was just writing about what I was doing and what was working and what wasn't. And then I also started to talk more about what I was doing related to SEO, because search engine optimization. So back in the day, you could set it up, you could sort of game the system a little bit, and so you could show up really high in the search engines really quickly and really easily, right?
Was it with a few keywords that you would repeat over and over, and you would just
yeah, it was a little more sophisticated than that. So basically, what you would do is I created these, what I would call sort of like blog farms, right? So I would have my website. Imagine a pyramid. I would have my website at the top, and I created some blogs underneath. These blogs would link to my site. I would then create another layer of blogs underneath that other layer, and they would link up. And so I would just be pushing I call it link juice, up to my site. Okay, and you could do this by like it's not complicated, but it's not important because it doesn't work anymore. But back then, that's what I did. And so I was talking about what I was doing, and then people started asking me, law firm owners started asking me about what I was doing and how I was doing it. And then the podcast came, and it was easier for me to talk than to write out these blog posts. And so I started doing that, and then more people started reaching out, and then I just decided to, sort of share what I was working on and see if people wanted to sort of pay to get access to that information, to talk to me. And here we are.
So what you're saying is you never really planned to do that. It was just starting your own practice, trying to document that story and have your little online diary and be efficient in terms of Google referencement and SEO. And you just figured out, there was something interesting to talk about actually, and you just integrated that into your activity.
Yeah, because very few people are doing what I'm doing sort of in the law firm space, and even fewer are talking about it and sharing what they're working on. So the other thing
that's
too,
true, by the way, on YouTube, you must have like, I don't know, 5 people talking about that, all Americans,
right.
And
a lot of the people and the other thing too is the other people that are talking about it, they're not law firm owners, most of them, right? They have good information. It's not that they have bad information, but what I'm talking about, I'm actually doing with my law firm, so,
yeah, absolutely.
So I have sort of like an extra layer of information, I feel like. And the other thing too is I'm really process driven inside of my firm. So a lot of what I share inside of the coaching group is sort of my processes, my procedures, how I put together all that kind of stuff to help make things flow, so I share that as well.
So yeah, before we dive a little bit deeper into that, by the way, where can we find you? What are your informations? What's your website?
Yeah, so if you just Google the Unconventional Attorney, I should pop up sort of everywhere. theunconventionalattorney.com is my website. If you Google Christopher Small, I'll show up. My law firm name is CMS Law Firm. So if you want to see like what I'm doing with my firm, you can do that as well. But I'm pretty pretty active in the content creation. So I'm easily findable.
What is it? A video per day, almost like 2 videos a week?
Yep. Right now I'm doing a video Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Well,
right now.
Yeah.
So for a while I was a little bit slower, but in the last couple of weeks I picked that back up to doing a little bit more.
Yeah, for those watching us, you can also see Chris' videos on his LinkedIn page, and it's always very short videos, but very like spot on, super insightful. So
that's right. That's the idea. One helpful piece of information a day, something you can take away and sort of implement right away and use. And again, it's and also to sort of circle back one more time on this whole coaching thing. I think there's a lot of people out there selling a bunch of stuff that doesn't work and sort of taking advantage of law firm owners and their lack of knowledge when it comes to marketing and advertising, particularly in the digital space. And so, I think I feel a little bit of a sort of a call to sort of like talk about what's working, just in general. That's why I make these podcasts, is just to talk about what is actually working. So people know, what I'm saying?
And I'm a young lawyer. I was sworn into Bordeaux's bar here in France, not even a year ago actually, And as soon as I became officially a lawyer, I had all these requests, all these guys contacting me on my LinkedIn, by mail, by phone, whatever, to sell me whatever thing I probably didn't need. Some of these were great. Some of these I'm going to implement in my everyday practice. But a lot of that was just people trying to make money, and that's just fine. But as you say, it's important when you're starting your sort of practice, at least, to be able to differentiate what you really need, which usually consists of taking action yourself, and what you seriously don't need, or what is just a little extra, but what's not going to give you so many clients. So
the important thing to remember is that there's not a lot of really easy solutions. Everything is going to take a little bit of work or a lot of money. Like, it's one or the other, so the people that are trying to sell easy, fast solutions for cheap, they don't really work, and so I just try to talk about the things that are working, so that when people are making choices, they at least have some education level and can sort of spot the people that are scamming.
Yeah, absolutely. How long have you been doing this coaching for lawyers, by the way?
So officially, probably only maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, sort of as an organized way. I was doing some stuff. Before it was coaching, I was doing straight like SEO services. I was helping people rank their websites and things like that. I was doing some sort of more informal stuff before that, but probably 2 or 3 years since I was really like organized about it.
So you're starting to have some feedback. You're starting to be able to recognize, for example, when would be the right moment for a lawyer to, stop being an associate and start a business of his own. I would gladly hear some advice or some things that you've noticed in your coaching experience. For example, when, in your estimation, would a lawyer be ready to go solo practice and to start his own business? What is the determining factor which, in your mind, make it possible or even desirable?
Yeah, I think, so the time is going to be right anytime, right? So you don't need to be practicing for any certain amount of time or anything like that. You don't necessarily need a high level of experience to go open your own firm, which a lot of people believe.
Everyone believes that. Absolutely,
right.
Everyone believes that. I even myself, I'm trying to convince that it's not the case, because I took this decision to create my firm quite quickly. But everyone will tell you that you need X amount of years as an associate because you start your business.
Yep, and that's just not true. You just have to be committed to learning your practice area while you're building your firm. You have to be committed to doing both at the same time. But if you made it through law school, if you passed the bar, you know how to learn. You just get a treatise and you start working on it. And then what you'll find as you start to help clients, depending on what your practice area is, you'll start doing the same stuff over and over and over again. The practical application of the law is not like what it is when you're in law school. Everything is not some Supreme Court case that's super complicated, and very tricky and has all these weird elements to it. Most of the time people are coming, like, for example, most of the people that come to me for estate planning, they are married, they have some kids. If they die, they want everything to go to their spouse. And if they both die, they want everything to go to their kids, right? That's pretty straightforward. Like, there's not a lot of moving parts there. It's not rocket science. You want to know the background so that you can give people the right advice to give them the right things, but it's not rocket science, But the other thing I will say is, when you just have to be really committed, I think, to taking action and being uncomfortable, like doing things that are kind of scary in your mind, because you're going to be doing a lot of new things. For me, it's like creating videos, right? It's like doing things like this. It is, talking to people when you may not have the utmost confidence in what you're talking about. Like, all of these things go into play. You have to be willing to get out there and just take action is going to sort of be the number one thing that I would say. There is no right time necessarily. It's just eventually you're ready to just pull the trigger,
Yeah. What strikes me with your approach is that you sort of break a lot of cliches, perhaps, or you don't really agree with what a lot of people say about creating, a law firm. For example, your last video, I think on LinkedIn was something like a 5 seconds business plan, and you sort of even affirm that you don't actually need a business plan to start a law firm, which I might disagree with that. For me, it was very helpful. So are you really, because, for example, when you see a lot of successful people on YouTube, they will tell you, well, it's just easy. All you need is, whatever, sleep very little and have a lot of hard work, and that's all it takes, or have a vision and that's all it takes. But if you dive a little bit deeper, you will find out that they say that exactly because they are already successful, and they're sort of forgetting all the very sophisticated work they put in place to reach that status. So are you really objective when you say that you don't really need a business plan, that you don't really need to work X amount of years before you start your practice? All you need is really dedication, taking actions, and being able to be in an uncomfortable situation?
Yes. So that video was what I see all the time. So I have a Facebook group for law firm owners. So I see people asking questions in there all the time. I'm in some of these. There are some other Facebook groups that have law firm owners in there. What I see over and over and over again is people saying, I've been working on this business plan for like 3 weeks or 3 months.
That's what I did.
I'm trying to figure out like what the expenses are going to be and what this is going to be and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, look, you don't need to do any of that. You just need to get started, right? That's the key. You need to pick a practice area. You need to have a name for your law firm. You might want to have insurance, right, when you get started. But all of the other stuff you can figure out as you go along. The strategies that you employ to get clients, the things that you do. Yeah, it's more complicated than just going in like The Secret, where you just see it and it happens. Like, you need to strategically do some very specific things, but having a business plan is not required. And when it comes to experience, my first firm was a criminal defense and traffic ticket law firm. Okay. When I decided I was going to open an estate planning firm, I had no estate planning experience at all. Zero.
Whoa. Okay.
Okay. So what I did was, when I knew I was going to open my firm, I started reading books for like 3 months. I started reading estate planning treatises every day. I think I read for like an hour a day, every day. When I got to the end of the book, I just started at the beginning. I read it again. So by that time, I think I got through it 3 or 4 times. And then on December 31st of 2015, I was a criminal defense attorney. On January 1st, 2016, I was an estate planning attorney. And like I said, I had no experience. I'd never done an estate plan before in my life. And I just started taking clients. And so I've lived through the experience part. The business plan part, I've just seen that over time. I'm sure I did have a business plan when I started, but if you go back and read my early blog posts, I took 3 weeks to pick a law firm name, which is ridiculous. We have this idea that we're going to be branded, that people are going to know our firm's name. But unless you're going to advertise a ton or, do something really sort of catchy or something, no one's going to know your firm name, because people don't need you every day. It's not like Nike, where people are buying shoes, athletic gear all the time. Pepsi, things like that. You don't need it. They need you when they need you, right? So when they need an estate planning attorney, they just go and look for you. They don't know one guy from another, and so they just pick the one that looks best, right?
And your regular clients will stay with you because they are satisfied by the work you did, not because they recognize a certain brand, as you said, or because they associate a certain quality with a certain brand. That's absolutely not our business. We are basically in the business of selling trust. It's a person-to-person business, so a name per se is not that important, I guess. You're right.
They'll stay with you over the long term as well, because you keep talking to them, right? So having follow-up systems in place, having a newsletter, these kinds of things where you're just keeping in front of people, that's what matters, right? When it comes to clients in particular.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I lived all this stuff. The stuff I talk about, it's not just what I teach, it's what I actually do. And I'm just trying to get people away from the thing is, the people that are taking 3 months to do a business plan, they're too scared. Like it's hard to take action, right? It's a procrastination. It's a fear-based thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Actually, I found myself in this position where my business plan was absolutely perfect. I mean, every single area was covered. I knew, every single digit after the comma. I knew exactly how much I was going to pay in terms of my charges, all of that. And I had just more and more questions pumping up in my brain, and I needed always to answer them, to reassure myself. And it's only after a while that I realized that you could go on like this forever. At some point, you have to take action. At some point, you have to open your firm and take your entrepreneurial risk. Although, as a lawyer, it's not as high as other, as if you were starting a startup, for example, in technology or whatever.
Right.
And so, yeah, exactly. At some point, you have to stop this process of over preparation, and you have to take action and meet clients and start your business. Otherwise, it gets even more stressful over time. So.
Yeah, and if you're making a traditional business plan, you're trying to identify your ideal client. You're trying to think about how you're going to get in front of them. All of that stuff is very simple when you're running a law firm. Google Ads will get you in front of people in like 5 seconds. Networking will get you in front of people in like 5 seconds. You just need to pick a practice area so you can tell people who you want to help. That's it. That's why I say that's all you need for a business plan. If you're doing a startup, there's other things that come into play. Because here's the other thing. When it comes to competition, a lot of people want to figure out like who their competition is and all this kind of stuff. The fact is, typically there is no competition. You are competing against a bunch of other attorneys that aren't good at business. It's not like there's some superior product out there. You're really just trying to get in front of people when they need you. That's all you're trying to do. So from a competitive nature, what sets you apart from someone else is just like who you are and whether or not you have a compelling enough sort of presence to get people to pick up the phone and call you,
Yeah. And then of course there is the part where you do your best, you do great work, they're satisfied, therefore they talk about you, and word to mouth also plays in your favor. But to get the clients originally, don't focus too much on the competition, I guess. And and try to be available for people when they need you.
Yeah, competition is terrible. There's very, very little. I will say this, if you are in personal injury, in the United States in particular, if you're in personal injury, if you are in criminal defense and you're in major metropolitan areas, can be pretty competitive. Like you have some savvy business people spending a lot of money to try to get clients, but that doesn't mean that you can't play. You just have to be willing to, you have to have a budget to be able to pay to sort of get in the mix with those people. Does that make sense? The only thing that makes them more successful than someone else is their willingness to advertise enough to get in front of enough people, to get enough calls, to get enough clients. Like that's the only differentiating factor.
That and perhaps the size of the firm, but then again, that's when they're starting not to be a competitor anymore, because you basically don't compete against bigger firms because the fees are totally different. At least I talk from my experience here in France. You might be in a very saturated legal market, like perhaps I am, like a lot of Parisian lawyers are here in France. But your competitors are not the big firms who are well established and who have a lot of marketing budget, because your clients just won't be the same.
Right.
The way you work, your fees won't be the same. So it can also add to the level of stress and unnecessary, fear to start thinking about these big, well-established firms, etc., because you only see the tree, you don't see the roots, you don't see how long it took for that firm to reach that status. And while you're doing that, you're not actually thinking about taking action, creating your own business, and just trying to do your best and offering the best services you can to your clients. And I think it can be a big distraction. So I agree with what you say to focus a little bit less on competition, because the legal market, although it can be very saturated, is a very different market from if you were selling shoes or something, where all of a sudden your shoes end up in the same store therefore you need to be better than the brand next to you. It's a completely different business, being a lawyer.
Think about it like this, though. Even with shoes, even with anything else, think about how many shoe companies there are, right?
Yeah.
It's the same with legal services. There are enough people that need legal services for sort of almost everyone to be successful. What you have to do, though, is just show up every day and do the work and do the things that you need to do to get people to call you. Like that's what it is. The difference between a shoe company competing with another shoe company and you competing with another law firm is that the things that you're doing to market and advertise your firm, most other law firms aren't doing. So it's just you. Like I'm doing these videos, no one else is doing them. No one else is doing them consistently. They're not putting any money behind them. They're just not doing any of the things that I'm doing. So it's like, it's not hard to get the phone to ring. People just show up.
That's another interesting aspect of creating a law firm and approaching it in a modern way, I guess, is that all of a sudden you realize, I was just when I was doing my very sophisticated business plan and I was studying competition, of course, I was looking into basically what the standard law firm communication is, like the marketing strategy is here in France. And I came to the conclusion that it was writing, very sophisticated, complicated legal articles that they would post on their LinkedIn, and 99% of people liking or sharing were their direct competitors, that is, other lawyers practicing in the same area that they knew, etc. And although it was very interesting, it's very, informative for me to see that, and it can be helpful, of course. And if you have a client who has a very specific needs, that's maybe how they will end up meeting you. But since we're in the business of selling trust, and I think it's more relevant to have a more direct type of communication now. For example, YouTube is one good example, and one doesn't exclude the other. You can still write very well thought, very sophisticated articles which are going to be super helpful for your clients who have a very specific need. But just getting clients to know you before they actually meet you plays a lot in your favor, because it creates trust, and I think it's when you start to do that, you realize that, as you said, not so many lawyers do that for some reason. Maybe because it's very traditional.
Why. Yeah, there's a lot of ego in being a lawyer, right? Everybody needs to prove how smart they are. Everybody needs to prove how lawyery they are. That's why they write these big, sophisticated articles. They don't write them for any other reason than to demonstrate how much they know about the law. But what those articles don't do is actually meet the client where they are. It's like the two examples I always use, which attorneys hate because it pulls us in with these common folk, is like a plumber, right? So if my toilet is broken and a plumber comes over to my house, I don't care how he fixes the toilet, right? I don't care what goes into that. I just want to know, can you fix my toilet? If the answer is yes, fix the toilet, right? Same for me with cars, because I don't know anything about plumbing. I don't know anything about cars. Same with cars. My car is broken. I take it to the mechanic. Can you fix this? He can tell me generally, let's say like, oh, your carburetor is broken. I don't even know. I would say, great. Can you fix the problem? Yes, I can fix the problem. What's the price? The price is good. Fix the problem. This is what attorneys should be doing as well. That's why my videos are short and they're not sophisticated, right? I'm not diving into like the code. I'm not diving into like these sophisticated legal arguments and ideas. It's like, do you want to do this? Yes. This is generally how you can do it. I will do it for you if you need me to do it, right? This is where attorneys kind of get mixed up. This is where they also have problems in sales calls, right? My sales calls are like 15 minutes with potential clients. I want to know, tell me about your family, tell me about your assets, tell me about your goals. These are the things that you can do to meet your goals. Are you interested? Yes. Wonderful. I'll help you. Like, that's what my sales calls are like. I don't go into like, you have to be worried about XYZ that nobody cares about, just so I can sound like I'm smart. that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the knowledge is there. Like, I understand how it works on the back end, but clients, they don't care about that stuff. Even the sophisticated clients, by the way. I've done like $50 million estate plans. The sales calls go the same way because they don't care. They just want to know, I have a problem. Can you solve the problem? Yes. Wonderful. And here's the other thing that attorneys, I think, miss out on as well, is that think about when you use any kind of an expert for anything that in your life, plumber, car mechanic, you don't need to know their credentials beforehand, right? The fact that you're going to like an auto repair shop, you just automatically assume that they know how to fix cars. The same thing happens with people when they talk to you. Like, all they need to know is that you're a lawyer. They just assume that you know everything about the law. Like, you don't have to convince them. Like, when you answer their questions, they just become more and more convinced that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I guess what you're saying is like, to put it shortly, to focus more on solving the question at hand and providing the service which is desired, and sharing some direct experience with the clients instead of building around that and really, acting as a lawyer. And I quite agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
What happens when I make my videos, though, is some other attorneys see those videos and they're like, that's ridiculous. So unsophisticated, right? He's wearing a sweatshirt, he's wearing a t-shirt when he's making these videos, or he's, talking like I describe a trust like a box. Like, why would anybody ever do that? Like, that's so, their ego can't take that hit from their peers. And that is a problem when you are trying to run a business, because I frankly don't care what any attorneys think about me. Zero. I only care about the people that are giving me their money, and a lot of people are giving me their money to help them with this stuff because they are the people that I want to talk to, right? That's the key.
Mm-hmm. That therefore ends the unconventional attorney.
That's right. I don't even care. I don't care anything about any other law firms, any other attorneys. Only thing I care about when it comes to them is what is working in their business to make their business better. And if it works for them, I will try it. I don't have any ego when it comes to that. I don't have any fear. I will try it and see if it works.
And what's been the reaction from your clients, not as a lawyer but as a coach? What's been the feedback so far? Do you mostly work with lawyers who share this, common sense vision, and who are interested about making their business work, helping their clients, and getting to the point? Or do you also sometimes succeed to, let's say, convert more traditional lawyers into your vision, which is more centered on clients' needs, basically, and growing a business?
Yeah, so I'm not trying to convert anyone to do anything. This is the beauty of me sort of doing the coaching stuff for fun, like as a passion project. Like, I make good money with it, but I don't need to convince anyone to adopt my strategy. I don't care really if you what you'll hear. So me saying I don't care, I say I don't care all the time inside the coaching group. They always make fun of me because they're like, you do care. But the people that come into the group are willing to employ the strategies that I am recommending. It's like, just think, let's say you're like 300 pounds, okay? And you go to a dietitian, right? Or a fitness person, a trainer, and you say, I want to lose weight. And they tell you, wonderful. All you need to do is these three things. And they say, well, I don't know about number one, and number two, what if I just did it like half the time? You would say, well, that's great, but it's not going to work. It's the same thing with people that come into my coaching group. I'd tell them, like, look, these are the things that I do. You want these results, just do these things. And the ones that see results, they do the things,
Okay, yeah. So you have objective results, and so the unconventional method works.
This is the thing. I'm only the unconventional attorney because I just do what other law firm owners don't. In reality, all I'm trying to get people to do is employ traditional business principles with modern marketing technology. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any secret sauce. I'm not doing anything that hasn't been done in other industries. I'm just trying to get people to do it here. That's it.
But I think this is going to resonate more and more, especially with young lawyers, because, as you said, it's applying principles which are applied elsewhere in other private sectors to quite a traditional, especially in France, a traditional sector, the legal profession. And I think more and more young lawyers are going to ask themselves the question: well, actually, how can I meet more clients and do my work in a way that is efficient and that doesn't, require me to work many hours on very unnecessary things. But a question that I wanted to ask you was, when I hear you, it sounds like you've always known, that you wanted to be a solo practitioner. Have you been an associate for how long, and what's your take on being an associate for a certain period of time versus opening a business right away? Of course, you don't have one solution for everyone. For some people, it's going to be more useful to be an associate for a while. For others, it makes total sense to start your business right from the start. But what made you decide to create your own firm, and when was that?
Yeah, so I have been an associate before. I'll give you my quick sort of like work history. So when I was a law clerk, my third year law school. When I graduated from law school, I ended up taking a job with that firm. It was a small firm in a small town. It was like no money. But what happened at that first firm though was, after I started working there, I don't know why I did this or why, I don't know. It just like must be part of my DNA. But I very quickly negotiated my pay structure based on that money, the work that I brought in.
Yeah.
So I come some brand new attorney and I'm like, hey, if I bring in this, I had a pay scale. If I brought in this much over my salary, I got this much, and the percentages went up. And so like very quickly I was bringing in money, and I was making like decent money. And I did that for a while, but then I had this idea though still of like,
that was in Seattle, by the way, already?
No, this was in Kansas. This was in Kansas. So I'm from Kansas originally, went to the University of Kansas for undergrad and for law school. And I practiced in Kansas for about 3 years before I moved to Seattle.
Okay.
And all of this was in Kansas. When I moved to Seattle, I started my firm. That was when I started. So I did that for a couple of years, or about a year maybe. But I didn't want to open a firm then necessarily. I went and took a job at another firm. This was like a small insurance defense type of a firm. I only worked there for like 6 months. It wasn't great. And then after that, I got a job with the Kansas Department of Transportation. So I was sort of like their property acquisition attorney. It's the best way to describe it. I was their eminent domain attorney for everybody in the United States. But that was an awesome job. I would have done that for a while. There was a private firm that sort of tag teamed some of the work that I did that I probably would have gone and worked with had I stayed in Kansas. Or I would have opened my own firm doing what I did around eminent domain, just like this specialty area that's like very lucrative and very fun. It would have been amazing. But my wife got a job in Seattle, and we just made a deal. When I move out here, I get to open my firm. And so I did that. So I was like 3 years in at that time.
Yeah. So you started your own firm without a single client in the Seattle area.
I didn't even have, I had no clients, no network, no nothing. I didn't know anyone in Seattle. I literally moved to Seattle and opened my firm. And it was in 2008, 2009. So it was here we had like the housing crisis, right? So the economy was terrible. Everybody was freaking out. And I just opened up.
So you're saying you don't need much experience. You could start your practice pretty fast, and you don't actually need to have a few clients before you do that. You could start right away as long as you have perhaps the right idea, and we're going to touch this subject a little bit further, and also the will to do well and serve your clients and meet people. And you mentioned quite a few times that you were focusing on one practice area, that is now, I think, estate planning.
Yep.
So you really believe that as a lawyer, you need to focus on one, perhaps two legal areas max. Don't you think that's taking the risk of over specialization? Isn't that boring after a while? Is that really the best channel to bring clients in?
So let's see. Do I think it's a good idea? Yes. I think here's why. If you are trying to be everything to everyone, you're going to be nothing to no one, right? If
Yeah,
you
of
meet
course.
someone on the street and they ask you, what do you do? And you just tell them you're an attorney, that they don't, it doesn't make sense. Or if you tell them what you do and you say, oh, I do bankruptcy, I do family law, I do PI, I do criminal defense, they're like, that's too much. You tell them I'm an estate planning attorney. Okay, well, that makes sense. Also, if you have multiple practice areas, you have multiple different clients that you're trying to get in front of all the time, right? So if I had 4 different practice areas and I was trying to employ this content strategy with video, for example, I'd have to make 4 separate videos every day to cover each different practice area. Because you wouldn't say.
Yeah, but Chris, here is a question for you though. Let's say, for example, let's take my example. I do business law, business and corporate law, mostly advisory services. When my client has an issue all of a sudden, the negotiation of a contract goes south and it becomes a litigation all of a sudden. Don't you think it's also very helpful from a client perspective not to be forced to change and see another lawyer for the litigation aspect?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You go to the doctor and you have a heart problem.
Yeah.
Okay. While they're working on your heart, they figure out that there's a problem with your brain. You tell the heart surgeon, don't send me to a brain surgeon. I want you to just keep going, because it would be too hard to switch places, right? This is the other reason that I like to focus on one area, is because you become very, very good at that area. And it's easier to become known sort of amongst, it's easier for people to refer you business also, right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So I don't do any probate litigation, for example. I do probate, like, so when someone dies and you have to, distribute their assets and things like that, I do that. I don't do anything related to litigation though when it comes to probate, nothing. So you would think, oh, does that limit your cases? Sort of, but it's like, imagine having a pie that's so big that you could never eat all of it. That's like my potential client pool, So by not stacking on another pie that I couldn't eat all of, it doesn't really limit me, because I still have endless potential clients.
Is that perhaps when it becomes a hiring strategy, perhaps? Like, I don't do myself estate planning litigation, to take your example, but there is this demand. Therefore, I could hire or have a partnership with another lawyer who does just that, and our our respective expertise become complementary. Do you see that as a strategy for development rather than a strategy for personal activity, for personal practice?
So I prefer to just refer it out. And it depends on, like, here, I don't even take referral fees, but one of the things you could do is you could take referral fees, right? Potentially on a case. I don't know if you can.
Forbidden in France, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But in America,
that's even better, because I don't actually get paid any referral fees. I just send people out.
Yeah.
I don't like having business partners, because when you do that, then you become responsible in a way for generating, like, what if they don't have any business and they're just waiting for you to refer them another case? Then it becomes a problem, right? Again, it's a situation where if you are focused on business advisory services, for example, you have an infinite number of clients. So to take on litigation cases, it just increases the amount of knowledge that you have to have, the different types of work that you have to do. It just spreads yourself very thin. If you became so successful that you just weren't doing anything and you wanted to add that practice area on, that's fine. Which sort of leads into your other question about, does it become boring? Does it become sort of rote, right? Are you doing the same thing over and over again? 100%, yes. You're doing the same thing over and over again. But here's the thing. If you're a business owner, if you're a law firm owner, I hope that your goal is to not be doing your own legal work forever, right? So I'm very close to where I'm not doing any legal work at all. I'm just own the business, right? I'm one more attorney away from not having to do any legal work. And then all I do is think about, how can I make this firm the best ever? how can I grow the firm? What are the strategies that I want to employ to do that? But we're doing the same thing. There will always be attorneys that want to just do work. They just want to show up. They want something safe. They'll do some estate plans. They'll go home and, watch Netflix or whatever they do, and they'll show up the next day and do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I can hear myself a little bit in your own description, because I'm that guy who really has a passion for pleading, for example, and but I am looking more and more to have obviously advice from people like you. I have a great friend who's from England, and who I think has a very similar vision to yours. He is also almost primarily a businessman before he is a lawyer. And I think it makes total sense. I think that's why he was able to be so successful in a relatively short time. Don't you think let's say the future is for, let's say, perhaps more old school people like me who really love go to court and do legal research, as crazy as that might sound, and people like you who are into business development and trying to make a firm successful and trying to implement new strategies and to basically make the lawyer-client relationship better? Don't you think the future is for people like that to work together?
It depends is the answer, right? You could be a law firm owner and still do exactly what you want to do. Like, that's the beauty of owning your own business. You have the ability to do whatever you want. What that's going to mean for you eventually is that you're probably only working on a couple of very specific things that you really, really like.
Yeah.
All the things that you hate, that you don't like to do, that are boring, you will give them to someone else to do, right? But for me, so to be just completely honest, someone that just wants to do the legal work is just going to be my associate. Like, I'm not going to partner up with them.
Yeah, of course.
To do the legal work, it's not rocket science, right? For the most part, unless you're doing like some really intricate like M&A stuff, I don't know, or I don't know what it would be. In the estate planning world, though, you're not doing a lot of complicated things once you learn how they work. So I would just hire an associate to come in and do the work. If they want to leave and go do something else, that's fine. I'll just find somebody else, because there's a bunch of.
Doesn't that require a very high degree of a very high capacity to let go and to be able to trust, beyond expectations, your associate, and have them do the work, and with you, I wouldn't say being absent, but at least being, having less control over the strategy or the the final legal documents?
Yes, you just create that, right? You create trust. You lead, right? I have very specific processes and procedures for the way that everything works, so that everything gets done, sort of accomplished the way that I want it to get done. But I mean, look, you have adults working for you, right? They're professionals, they're attorneys. They should be able to figure out how to put together an estate plan,
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. Yeah, you do have to let go a little bit, but the question becomes, what do you want to do? Do you want to be just an estate planning attorney for your whole life, or do you want to be a business owner? And there's in reality, the answer to that question doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do. Some people do just want to be estate planning attorneys and own a very, very small firm, where they're sort of doing all the stuff. That's okay. Like, that's the beauty of owning your own business, is you can make it whatever you want.
Yeah.
But for me, everybody has to learn how to give that up. Like, it's a learning process for me. It's something I'm still learning, but yes, you do. You have to trust the people that you hire to do the work that you want them to do, but you put in place checks and balances so that you can see what's going on. If somebody's not performing the way that you want them to, then you just go find someone else, right?
So I guess when you've reached that, let's say, I would say more comfortable position, although you have a lot of responsibilities, of course, and other troubles. But when you are more a business owner than a lawyer, let's say, to take your example, how, what's your how could I put it? I forgot what I wanted to say, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, here is what I say. Here is what I wanted to say. What's your role when it comes to the client? Do you still involve yourself a lot in terms of meeting the client, in terms of being there, answering the phone, or is it really completely giving up that work on the files and trusting entirely your associates to do the work? You know, how much do you diminish your involvement on the case management?
Yep. So for estate planning, I do the potential client meetings and I will do the signings. So like will
Yeah.
signings. In between, the answer is it depends. If it's a pretty like vanilla plan, if it's very straightforward, I might not do anything on it in between. My associate, my paralegal will handle everything. If they have questions, if there's things that they're not sure about, if they want some confirmation on something, then they'll come and ask me. If a client wants to have a phone call, I typically will take the client phone call if they have questions about something, only because I talk to them first, right? For my probate cases, though, I don't do anything with probate. My associate does the potential client calls. She handles the case from start to finish. I only get involved sort of in the same thing. If something happens or something comes up that she's not familiar with, or that she just wants to sort of like have some confirmation on, then we'll talk about it. Otherwise,
Okay.
I'm out of that 100%. All I do is see this is the best. All I do is see the notification when somebody pays. That's it. It's amazing. Yeah.
Okay. Last set of questions, and then I'll let you go. It's already been, I think.
Yeah, we have a couple. I have a little bit of extra time, so don't worry about it. I don't
All
have
right.
to on right at me.
Perfect. So moving on perhaps to estate planning in America, I'm just very curious. My education is one of international private law, so I'm always very interested about, how things are done differently in other countries. And I would like you to tell me a little bit more about estate planning and basically what the tools are for to do your job. And for example, your everyday job, is it setting up trust deeds? Is it what are the most frequent questions that your client ask, and basically what does it consist in, estate planning in America and in Seattle more specifically? And also, do you recourse to interstate, for example, trusts? Do you get to use, I don't know, the laws and regulations of Nevada, which I assume would be more liberal, more free trade oriented? So what is it to be an estate planning lawyer in Seattle?
Yeah, so to begin with, the most states have very similar laws with sort of like your regular everyday estate plan. If you make an estate plan here in Seattle, it will pretty much work wherever you go. It will travel with you. So if you move to some other state and you have a will that you made here, for example, it works there. Okay. So there's not a lot of difference from state to state necessarily. I don't practice, but you have to be licensed in whatever state you're in to work in that state. Okay. So I only do Washington state estate plans. Estate planning, I'll give you the spiel that I give clients. Estate planning really generally covers you in two circumstances. If you are alive but incapacitated, right? Think like you're in a car accident and you're in a coma, or you are elderly and you have dementia, okay? You have power of attorney, which is sort of like who can step in and manage your day-to-day financial life, pay the bills, do the things you need to do. Medical power of attorney, it's the same thing, but specifically for medical decisions if you cannot make them, okay? And you you have the ability to pick whoever you want to be in these positions. Okay, you can basically no restrictions except they have to be over 18. They have to be adults. Okay. You also have healthcare directive. Healthcare directive is essentially if you are in a vegetative state, do you want to pull the plug or not? Basically what that says. Okay. If you have kids that are under 18, we will also do minor power of attorney and minor medical power of attorney, which is basically like if both parents are out on a date and they get in a car accident and they're in the hospital, who is legally sort of responsible for the kids, right? So who could take them to the doctor? Who could enroll them for school? Who could do those kinds of things? The other side of estate planning is when you die. On that side, we've got disposition instructions, like burial instructions. What do you want to do? Then we've got wills, right? Will generally names the person that's in charge of your estate, like the executor. We call personal representative in Washington State.
Yeah. Executor
person-
testamentaire in French. Yeah, we have pretty much the same. Yeah.
That person is generally in charge of collecting your assets, determining your debts, paying your debts, distributing your assets. If you have kids under 18, in the
Can you
will,
act yourself as in this position? Could you
Can
be
I?
that person? Yeah.
you could, yeah, you can name anybody. So people will sometimes name the firm. That doesn't happen very often, but they could.
Okay.
They can name me personally too if they wanted to. It doesn't happen very often. Usually have somebody in their family that they want to
Yeah.
that spot. Also name long-term guardians, right? So if you die, who steps into that parental role? Do that inside the will. And then where does everything go, right? Where do you want your assets to be distributed? All those documents together, I would consider to be sort of like a foundational estate plan. That's how I market my stuff in packages. So
yeah,
that's like the foundational package. Everybody needs that in some way, shape, or form. Wills don't eliminate probate, right? Probate at a very high level is just a process of transfer.
So could you just explain, for French viewers, what exactly is probate? What it consists of? Yeah.
Yeah. So probate at a super high level is just a process of transferring one person's assets to another person. Okay. That process is overseen by the courts, right? So as part of that process, they'll validate the will. They will name the personal representative or the executor. And then there's just some other procedural things that are done inside of court as that process of transferring assets from one person to another goes on.
Okay.
That makes sense? Super high level, that's what probate is for most people.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to avoid probate, then you could create a revocable trust.
Yeah.
Right? Revocable trust, basically you're in charge, you're everything. When you die, the trust holds your assets, so you don't need probate because there's no need to transfer any assets. You name
absolutely.
That's our trustee. They step in, follow the rules that you laid out in the trust. That's sort of it generally, right? That's estate planning in a nutshell for 99% of people in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of common patterns. Usually you work with packages that you can offer to your clients. Basically, for X amount of dollars, you have these and these and these aspects of your inheritance, for example, which are covered. So I assume you don't work by the hours. You don't bill by the hours.
Right. I do flat fees only. I don't think
only.
I don't think hourly. I think hourly billing. So hourly
is
billing,
it also something that we were discussing the unconventional attorney, your approach to law, your refusal or just the fact that you don't bill by the hour? Is it also one aspect that you wanted to erase from your practice because it didn't make sense to you, or is it just because in estate planning it doesn't make sense anyways?
It's bad business, right? Think about this. In a year, do you think you're going to be better at your job or worse at your job?
Yeah, better, I assume.
Right. Do you think you're going to be faster or slower?
Faster.
So why should you make less when you're more experienced and you're faster?
But that's when lawyers, but that's when lawyers increase their hourly rate.
Again, what if you, this comes into play for you in particular as a business advisory attorney?
Yeah.
You could answer a question that could save someone $1 million, right? Would you want to get paid for 5 minutes of your time on $1 million question? Probably not.
So your approach, the reason why you don't want to bill by the hour is because for you, it doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint. It's a way to lose money. That's interesting. That's the first time I hear that, because let me tell you why I asked this question specifically. When I did my business plan, when I, started drafting the texts for my website, I came to the conclusion that I needed to bill by the hour as little as possible. The reason why was because it goes back to our business, the nature of our business, which is selling trust. And if you're trying to sell trust and the client asks you, how much is it going to cost me? And you answer, it depends. I don't know. It could be, I think that's when you lose trust. I think in 2021, at least, these kind of questions cannot be answered this way anymore. And it was more the reason why I didn't want to bill by the hour was a trust question. It was just to be able to say to my clients, here is how much it's going to cost you, period. Now, sometimes it's not exactly possible, for example, in complex litigation cases or for ancillary questions, you have to bill by the hour because there is just no other way. But my general policy was not to do it unless absolutely necessary. But your approach is more, from a billing standpoint, it's a bad strategy.
So it's a bad strategy for everyone. If you are doing, if you're trying to go as slow as possible and do as much work as possible, it's a great strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
If litigation attorneys didn't bill by the hour, cases would get resolved faster, right? They would still make more money. They would just need less attorneys, and clients would be happier as well. Like, there's no reason why you can't bill flat fee for litigation as well. You would just scope the problem. See what I would. Here's where you usually would do it. Let's say you eliminated the billable hour. What you would do is just, heart surgeons don't bill by the hour. For example, they bill by the procedure. Sometimes a heart surgery takes an hour. Sometimes it takes 10, right? You don't get charged more based on the time. You just get charged more based on the complexity, right? So it's just a definition of scope problem when it comes to litigation and people being lazy, quite frankly. But I would want to have my clients call me if they have questions and not be fearful of having to get charged.
Yeah, that's another very important aspect.
The other thing that attorneys do is they charge for copies, they charge for all these other things, and you're like, look, just build these things into your hourly rate. It's like, so it doesn't make any sense across the whole board, because typically what you charge is going to be based on the value that you provide. In almost every industry, every transaction that you make, what you're basically saying to yourself is the thing that I'm trying to buy more valuable than the money that I have in my pocket? If you want a sandwich, I have $3. The sandwich is $3. Is this sandwich more valuable than the $3 that I have in my pocket? If it's not, you'll buy a candy bar, right? Or something like that. Something that matches your value prop.
Yeah.
But attorneys have been doing this for a long time. It's the way that they do it. The big law firms have sort of gotten stuck because they have so many attorneys. They have to, and quite frankly, the partners fill their pockets, right, so substantially with like going down these rabbit holes and doing all these things that don't need to be done, as to opposed to, again, just solving the problem, right, that needs to be solved. That's why it's pervasive there. And then people hear about it in law school.
Yeah,
I think it's the only way to do it.
And it's not even sincere, because most of the time when you have a fees agreement which says that you're going to bill by the hour, you end up not billing by the hour anyways, because let's say on some cases you've worked, I don't know, 10 hours and you realize that if you actually bill every single hour you've worked on the file, the amount is going to be too high. It's going to exceed exactly what you said, the value for the client of what you did. And therefore you end up making a discount, or you end up not billing every hour, and for no business reason whatsoever, just because it ends up being too high, and therefore you're not actually billing by the hour, or your hourly rate is actually much lower than the one you said it is. And so it doesn't even make sense from your own perspective as a lawyer in terms of
Here's the other thing too. If you bill by the hour, it's really hard for you to take a vacation. Okay. It's really hard for you to take a day off from work. You know why? Because every hour that you don't work is literally money that's coming out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if you're just signing people up and just doing the work, it doesn't matter if you take a day off, the work's just going to get done. Like, you're not actually losing. An hour of your time is not worth like an hour of billing if you don't bill by the hour.
It's also simpler. Yeah, you don't think in terms of what your financial objectives are for the month, etc. You think in terms of how many files do I need to solve, how many clients do I need to see this month, and it's much easier to think in terms of in terms of these objectives, meeting clients, having new files instead of X amount of hours it doesn't really make sense anymore. And and it's detrimental to trust because you have a lot of randomness which comes into play when you bill by the hour. So yeah, I think whenever possible, it makes sense to
Here's what people say. Here's the big objection. Well, what if you have a client and everything goes wrong and you have to it takes you a lot more time than you thought it was going to take? Okay. My answer is, so what? That's one client. You would just do what everybody else would do. You just do the work. It's not that you scoped it wrong. It's just I'll give you a perfect example. I have a client, an estate planning client. It's like a really straightforward thing, but they're having a hard time making choices about who their people are. They're nervous about some things. Like there's like some family things. Okay. Basic estate plan. We have had 2.5-hour long conversations. Okay. You know what I do? I just smile and I just help them out. Like that's just part of the service, because for every one of those, there's 70 clients that just go along just the normal route. Highly profitable, right? Everybody's happy. The value exchange is good for them. The value exchange is good for me.
It's important for the client as well not to fear calling their lawyers because, oh my God, how much is it going to cost me? The lawyer is there to help them. Therefore, of course, they could call. Of course, they could send, not as many emails as they want. You have to be reasonable, but they could be in regular contact with their lawyer without thinking in terms of how much is going to cost me. They know exactly how much is going to cost them. And of course, communications are included.
Right. And when it comes to communication too, setting boundaries is important. As the attorney, you're in charge. How they can communicate with you is important. That's part of your process, right? That's how you think about these things in advance so that things are under control. Most people don't want to call you all the time anyway. Like they have better things to do than to, call you all the time. That's how I feel about hourly billing in general. Like, I can talk about this all day. I just think I think people are afraid because they think that one case is going to take them too long, and they're sort of missing the boat because most cases don't do that. If you do get a bunch of cases like that, it's not a client problem. It's a you problem. You either need to raise your fees or refine your scope so that if something out of the ordinary happens, you can add it in for more. Does that make sense? Like even in litigation, you could have a line item for every deposition that you do. It's going to cost you X dollars. Like instead of billing by the hour, just say every deposition is going to be $1,000. So if we do 10 depositions, it's 10 grand. As opposed to like billing and like doing all this kind of stuff, you can just scope that stuff out. That way the client knows what it is, and then you can just go from there.
Yeah, it's a good solution to solve like all the uncertainties. For example, you never know in advance how many memorandums need to be exchanged in litigation. Sometimes the opposite party answers every single one of your arguments, therefore you need to write back, etc. And there is an ongoing discussion during the written phase of the proceedings. And if you just integrate that into your fees agreement and you say each memorandum after a certain number is going to be that amount.
I wouldn't even do it like that. I wouldn't even do it like that though. I would just say there's this phase. Let's call it like the discovery phase. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to know, if you are an experienced attorney, you are going to know, typically this is what we're going to do, right? Sometimes you're going to have 10 more memoranda on one case, but on average, you're going to have 4, right? So you just bill it out as 4. On the random case where you have 10, you just do the 10. But at 4, I'm just going to cost $10K to do that, right? To get through the discovery phase, I'm just making up numbers, but $10,000. So on the case where you have to do a little bit extra work, it doesn't matter. It's still profitable for you inside of that because you don't have to squeeze out the time on writing this memoranda. Then you can also have the right people doing the right work. So paralegals can do the work that they should be doing, right? Associate attorneys can be doing the work that they should be doing. And then you can do the work that you should be doing and then spending the rest of your time doing the other things that you should be doing, which is, generating more business or just, making the firm better, leading, whatever it is that you need to do,
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I think we've covered pretty much every subject I wanted to discuss with you. There is one last, however, which I think is absolutely crucial, and that is golf. As a matter of fact, I was playing yesterday because I had so much things in my mind. A lot of stress because of opening your business is something very, very, very stressful, of course. And at the 13th hole, I had to come back home because, of course, I played like an absolute horse. I think I lost something like 5 balls or something, and it was just horrible. And I wanted to know, I know you play a lot of golf. You've talked about that in one of your videos. What's your handicap?
So right now my handicap is 7, I think.
Whoa, my God.
I don't play to a
That's
7
pretty
all
good.
the time. Yeah, so I'm a 7 right now. I don't play as much as I used to, probably more like a 10. But yeah, I think my actual handicap right now is a 7. Yeah.
Okay, I won't even tell you what's mine. I discovered golf a year ago when I was doing my traineeship in Mauritius, actually. So it was wonderful. I discovered this sport in the Indian Ocean. I was playing in front of beautiful lagoons. I had monkeys everywhere, cool. On the golf course. And and in a year I was able to go from 54 to 28. So I'm a 28.
That's good.
That's good. That's not even every day.
This is the difference. When I was in law school, I worked at a golf course. So I had unlimited range balls. I had unlimited golf. I worked in the pro shop. So I had the golf pros were there to help me out. I played golf with guys that were super good, that gave me tips, and I practiced a lot. So that's how I'm a 7,
Yeah. And do you think it's a good, of course, networking method to play golf? Do you think it helps business actually to every weekend, I don't know, to play a 18 hole or something?
I think the key when it comes to networking is to pursue the things that you like. That's what I think. So, you will find people pretty much everywhere that you could interact. I think the key though is just to find things that you're interested in, and then depending on what those things are, like if it's an organization, then try to like participate and be, get on the board, or get into leadership positions where you can talk and things like that.
Yeah.
If it's golf, yes, I would be very strategic about it, about who you're asking to come out and play. That's the hard thing about golf is it's like 4 hours, right? So
yeah,
you want to make sure that you have people out there. It becomes a weird thing because if you're just doing it for networking, it can become less fun,
Yeah, of course.
So it can be, what I would say is if you are into golf, as opposed to trying to play with someone every weekend, for example, I would join a golf club, and same thing. Try to get like on the members board, like the membership board, or like on the golf, like on the I was a member at a golf club.
Yeah, or I could just be known to be the guy who throws clubs in lakes because he's too upset. I could be that guy as well,
Not you could, but fewer people will know you in that context. But whatever it is that you like, I would just try to find places where you can participate with people but pick the places where your potential clients will be. Like you balance those two things. Like if you don't like it, it's just not going to be fun. You don't have one life. You might as well just go pursue the things that you like.
Yeah, you shouldn't force networking. Networking should be something you love and something you enjoy, and it becomes natural, and it's a discussion, and it's not so much about business. If it's about business, that's perfect, but it could also be just a beautiful event that you share with people and that you enjoy with people. And if it leads to business, that's good. If it doesn't, that's also good. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it comes to activities. I'm a big fan of just doing regular networking too, though. Just have a coffee with someone. Tell me about your business. What are you struggling with? Like for you, you could have great coffee meetings with people, because all you want to do is, what are your challenges right now? They tell you, you give them some helpful information, like right there at the coffee meeting. And you just say, look, if you need more help, or if you want to like take real steps with this, let me know. That makes sense. And you just build relationships over time.
Yeah, that's something you really believe in also. I think giving information for free and being helpful, just whether that person becomes a client or not doesn't matter. Your videos are exactly like that. You just throw useful information out there, and And that's how I ended up meeting you. That's how I assume a lot of your clients ended up knowing you even before they had an appointment with you.
Yeah.
And just be generous with information and just try to help people. Yeah.
People are always worried about somebody taking their information and not paying them for it. What you need to understand is that there are different types of people in this world. The people that are going to take your information and not pay you would never pay you, right? It's like the people that are going to go use like a computer program to create an estate plan. They would never hire me, right? But I can still help them. I might as well. But the people that are going to hire me, they still want to hear this information as well, right? It's a way for me to build trust with them. So I'm not worried about the people that are not going to hire me. I'm trying to talk to the people that are going to hire me. It's the same thing in your space, right? Some business owners are just cheap. They're never going to hire an attorney, right? But there are other business owners that trust having sort of that person on their team and will pay that person. The way that you can demonstrate your expertise, get some reciprocity, like gain some trust, is to talk to them about these questions that they have. And a lot of times the answer to the question is, this is what you need to do, but the how you do it, right? The execution is not inside of that information necessarily. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But at the same time, you advised, I think, on one of your videos to just stop this technique of, if you want to learn more, please contact us. Like this little, we give you a little bit, and you have to come to us if you want to know more. I think that's a little bit, that's a little bit cheap, a little bit ungenerous. I think you just have to give the information, knowing that in any case, if that person is interested in doing that estate plan that you're talking about, in your case, he would need, or she would need, you anyways. So don't cut yourself short of information and just.
So to be clear though, whenever you make a video, you should always have a call to action in there. So you should say, if you want to know more or talk more, do this.
Yeah.
You don't leave a cliffhanger in the content of your video. So you actually answer the question that you are asking. But a lot of times the thing to do does still require a conversation. So you want every time to let people know how they can contact you, because if you don't tell people what to do, they won't know what to do.
Yeah, that's more, if you want to take action, here are our main information, please get in contact. But it's not like I'm giving you 50% of the information. If you want the other 50%, that's just terrible. Yeah.
I give the whole thing. I give it all every time. And like I said, I've never been busier than I ever. I'm busier than ever. Business is great. The clients are great. Like I said, it's like a pie that you can't eat enough of. It's too big, right?
Well, I think these are super good ending remarks. Thank you very much, Chris. I really appreciated this little interview. I hope we'll have other opportunities to talk soon. And I think this was really helpful also for entrepreneurs, people, who were perhaps thinking about creating their firm as well. And I think it's very helpful to hear this positive message that basically you can do it. It requires to take action, to be able to place yourself in uncomfortable situations, but it's not as sophisticated as one might think. And you're usually capable of doing it if you're organized and positive, and if you are willing to take action, as you said. So thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah. Hey, where are you at in France?
So I'm in Bordeaux. That's the southwest of France, in a region which we call Nouvelle-Aquitaine. So it's one of the 6, perhaps 7, I don't know, biggest cities in France. Beautiful city. You probably heard about the wine we make there.
Right. All right. I'm gonna come play golf with you sometime. That's why I'm asking.
Of course, yeah.
Make sure I get there. I'll look you up.
That would be great. As soon as COVID is over and we can travel safely, we should absolutely make a golf vlog or something, so that everyone can see me throwing clubs in the lake.
That's right.
And yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Your public would not hear my insults anyway. They would be French, so it would be all good.
That's right. I wouldn't know what you were saying, but that's okay. I would get the gist of it. But you can throw clubs anytime. That's cool. Yeah, but I appreciate you setting this up. If I love having these conversations. So if anybody else wants to talk to me, just let me know. I'm happy to do it. And, good luck on your firm. Yeah, the key. So for me, what I always tell everybody is the key is, identify the plan of action that you want to take, show up every day and execute that plan of action. Like, you can't control when clients are going to come. You can't control how quickly your business is going to take off. All you can control are the things that you can control, right? Are you making content? Are you reaching out and having networking meetings? Like, all of these things that you have control over, you just have to keep doing them consistently over time and sort of have faith that the plan is going to pay off. That's the key.
Yeah.
Where people get sort of off track is they just stop. They get discouraged. It doesn't happen as fast as they want, or they are scared to do the things that they need to do. So show up every day, do the work, and clients will come for sure.
Patience, dedication, and resilience, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Discipline too. Discipline in the sense of, the days when you show up to work and you don't want to make a video, doesn't matter. You make a video. Or you don't want to make a phone call, doesn't matter. You make a phone call. Doesn't matter how you feel. You just do the work, knock it out, and move on to the next day. Because every day you don't want to, it's like going to the gym. It's like doing whatever. Not every day you want to do it, but if you want to be healthy, you do it. Same with this. You want to have a healthy business, you just got to put the work in. So cool. Awesome, man. I appreciate it. I actually do have another phone call here in like 2 minutes now. But it was great talking to you. You had great questions. I really appreciate it. And that's it, right?
Yeah. Let's talk to you soon, Chris. Thank you so much. And all the best.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Simon from France. Like I said, I had a great time. I had a great, it was a great interview, great questions, and hope you guys got something from that. Did a little bit of everything on that. So that's it. As always, I want to leave you with a call to action, which you should be doing in your videos. If you want some help, if you want to join a group of law firm owners that are crushing it, come and check out the OMA Accelerator coaching group I put together. You can get more information at theunconventionalattorney.com/OMA1. That's the number 1, OMA1. And that's it. As always, I'm Christopher Small. I'm the Unconventional Attorney. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you again soon. See ya.